Errmentari and the Blacksmith. It's on Netflix. It kind of rhymes when you say it like that. But hey, everyone, it's day 24 of the 31 Days of Dread. And I have a foreign movie that's dubbed Two Strikes. Now, the only thing that would make this worse would be if it was an old movie, right? And I'm sure you guys only want to sit down and just watch easily consumable movies. Or do we want to work? Do we want to dig and work and go through the mines and the trenches to find out what's good out there? Well, we got something that's good. So, cue the music and let's go. Thank you for joining me. It's Peter A. DeLuca, aka Pad, your host, your boy, your spooky friend. Hey, look out, I might be in the closet. Over there, yeah, right behind you. This is Dream Warriors, the 31 Days of Dread. This is where we do one horror movie a day in celebration of Halloween and the month of October and just days in general. So, hey, we got Errmentari, and this movie rocks, and I'm so excited to talk about it because what drew me to it, I was talking about this a few days ago, is Legend. Have you ever seen Ridley Scott's Legend? That movie imprints images, tonality, hues, contrasting colors, cinematography, and the shooting process of filmmaking. It embeds it in your mind more than any other movie, I believe, and more than any other Ridley Scott movie, because Ridley Scott does have a knack for doing this. Even if you watch like Matchstick Men, the gray tones in that movie kind of stick with you. The the way Ridley Scott shoots, it doesn't have to be fantasy. It can actually be a drama, okay? And he has a beautiful way of illustrating what's on screen, and he brings together all the elements. Look, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, I wholeheartedly have grown to love both of those movies. I love them as a pair, and I love what they do with the alien mythology. Now, that doesn't say I agree with it all, because those are controversial movies in the field of geekdom. So there's a couple different ways to even approach Alien Covenant. And one of the ways is like, okay, how does it fit? Like, how does this puzzle piece that we just jigsawed, pun intended, because, jigsaw Halloween, this jigsawed puzzle piece, how does it fit into the landscape of Alien? And this is where we get, everyone puts on their gloves, they step into the octagon, and they go to war, because no one can agree. But then if we look at it as a film, it's fantastic. If we look at Prometheus as a film, it's fantastic. And I tend to do the latter, okay? See, I don't really care how things fit together. I really don't. It makes no sense. As much as people want to act like it's not there because there's some denial in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're 10 years deep, and none of it makes any sense. Okay, it rarely made any sense going post Avengers. I'm sorry. Okay, well, I mean, we can argue about the powers of the Scarlet Witch, the story, quote unquote, for the formation of the Avengers, which was teased in like Iron Man 2. How none of that kind of like happens and comes about in the same way. They've tried to rectify some of it and retcon some of it. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But again, we're not really talking about that. We're talking really about Netflix's contribution to horror. This is year 2 of their horror roundout. Hey, Netflix's horror rollout and the 31 Days of Dread are parallel. We are bros. We're brother and sister. I'm the brother. Netflix is the sister. Sorry. Even though it's a very attractively hotly, it's a hot sister, but okay. And you know what? Speaking of like incest, we got that coming up too in the 31 Days of Dread. We have probably the best incest movie ever made. I'm just gonna let that sit there. But yeah, I will have to tease that. That should be day 26, if I recall. But yeah, so Netflix decided to become a staple in American horror. Now, it's kind of funny because they were actually able to pinpoint like a holiday like artfully, they didn't compete with Hollywood and summer and blockbusters. They created something of their own in a naturally downturn period, in a subtraction period, a contraction period of Hollywood, meaning that usually the post-summer rollout for movies is not great because we're between two things, and this is just how Hollywood, the industry got painted, and what their like intent for a lot of their movies are. So summer intent, explosions, awesomeness, attractive women, lots of popcorn, $100 movie trips. Like, we're spending money seeing movies, and we're making money. We're spending money making movies during the summer. Okay, so that's the exchange, and everyone loves it. And then we gear up for Oscar season, which kind of starts next month. So between I would say maybe September and November, it's kind of just we have 2 months of nothing. And we're always surprised when movies become a hit, which is kind of weird because it should kind of be expected. We do have hit movies and we have good movies between those months, but the marketing is clear, okay? So, and everything ramps up for Oscars, which is kind of becoming odd because the Oscar push now are movies no one sees. No one sees, but there's still some low-budget movies that spike. And, this is great for the people involved and the studios involved with those movies, because if the low-budget movies can't pop and if the big-budget movies can't explode, we're dealing with a fractured system. Now, Hollywood in all is making more money this year than ever. Okay? But that doesn't mean that there's faults to this. And a good example, upcoming. I've been teasing it, and I guess Mark and I have a contention to the Train to Busan. Okay, he loved it. He watched it twice. Okay, I did not. And the point I'm getting at, that movie sold between 11 to 12 million tickets. Okay, that's butts and seats. Hollywood is dealing with a butts and seats problem. Okay, I think the Netflix interruption of this disruption is taking over October, and if they can take over October, and it seems like they have, because they have long form content rollout with the haunted house show, that the house on Haunted Hill, I think. That's a 10-part horror saga. Okay, so they've nailed it with that. They have Stranger Things. They have horror-driven long-form content, and they have these wonderful movies that are just these they're just these glowing orbs. And the first one and the only one we've done of Netflix this year so far, and I do feel guilty of it because I was so hot on Netflix last year with Babysitter, Gerald's Game, Little Evil, naming three, and the 1922, right? That's the one with the Punisher guys in that, the Punishers, and that's a Stephen King one. But they even had almost like a Stephen King rollout a year ago. But if Netflix can solidify October, I believe they would move forward, okay, and go for Oscar. Okay, they will capture the Oscar audience because people really aren't going out to see the Oscar movies like they used to. The last time we had a number one movie that won the Oscar was a century ago. Okay, it was ages ago. So Netflix is going to satisfy that. Okay, people are fine not going into the theater seeing Oscar-driven movies. This is clear. So, and then what happens at that point? Well, the mountaintop for Netflix's objective is going to be summer blockbusters, and they've dabbled with this, and I think we're just going to see more and more. Now, in comparison, Netflix potentially could create their own summer blockbuster season, meaning what they did last year with Cloverfield and the Super Bowl. They premiered that, and that night they dropped Cloverfield Paradox. That blew my mind. Because I'm a huge fan too of the Cloverfield movies, and it was very surprising that they did that, because that was an internet-driven movie and that was an internet-hyped movie. So could they be doing it in February? Could they use the Super Bowl and the eyeballs on the Super Bowl to premiere 2 movies at once, 3 movies at once, to do a drop a week? Is it in them? 100%. Netflix is spending, I think, $8 billion on content development. That's up 2 to 3 billion from a year ago. They're spending billions with content. Okay, and then they cannot be stopped. So with this, okay, we have a foreign movie. It's a France movie. I had a tough time researching this movie, but the visuals from the Netflix thumbnails sparked my imagination, because it did remind me of the movie Legend, and I wanted to see it. I wanted to see those highlights, like the fire glow with the dark atmosphere, and it fully delivered visually. 1,000%. Now, the movie's dubbed, and a lot of times when a movie's dubbed like this, it's a little bit difficult to follow the tone and the intent of the movie. Meaning, are we trying to be funny and scary? Are we just trying to be scary? Or are we just trying to be funny? Or none of those? Are we just trying to be dramatic? The pronunciation, the tone, the expressions on the faces don't always match up when it's dubbed. Now, do we not watch this movie? Do we slow down while we're watching it? Potentially, yeah. Movies like this, I don't mind stopping, letting it sit for a little, and then jumping back into it. If we're watching movies at home, let's use it to our advantage. Let's use it so that we can fully absorb the content and do the filmmakers justice, because these filmmakers deserve all the justice. Okay, it was really tough for me to dig up who did what in this. There's not much on the web, and it's frustrating, because everything I was able to dig up kind of didn't have right now I'm on a page that I had to translate. Okay, so there's not a lot of almost like stateside written content about this movie, but the director, okay, Paul Urquijo, okay, fantastic director. The cinematography, from the best I can tell, this guy's credited for Image, but it's Gorka Gomez Andrew. This dude put together, he weaved a tale and visual alone, and I'm talking in tonality, meaning grays, blacks, yellows, and reds. Because we do have reds. We have reds at the end of this movie, because we go to hell at the end of this movie. So what's the plot? Well, here's the thing. This is from what I was able to weave together, but it looks like it's from somewhat from a grim fairy tale, The Smith and the Devil. And I'm just going to tell you, the story is the Smith who makes a pact with a malevolent being, commonly the devil, in later times death, or a genie, selling his soul for some power, then tricks the devil out of his prize. In one version, the Smith gains the power to wield any materials, then uses this power to stick the devil with an immovable object, allowing the Smith for revenge on the bargain. This is very much the story. Okay, so this is the synopsis of the fairy tale. I pulled it off of Wikipedia. That's your movie. See, but the movie moves forwards and backwards. It begins with the guy entering a town. Like, holy crap, it's Sleepy Hollow, okay, from a year ago. And I love movies that begin like this. I love movies that are like your entry into doom, okay? And it's used in so many different fashions, and a lot of times we don't realize it. And a really good example and it does work best in horror or thriller, but we see this in Silence of the Lambs, and we also see it in Seven, where someone's introduced into a case. They are entering through a gateway. This is a gateway of no return. And it's wonderfully done here, and it's clear and it's blatant. And then along the way, we're teased. We're teased about the blacksmith, and he killed his wife, and there's the devil in there, and we're surrounded by gates with spikes and Christian crosses and crucifixes. Okay, and visually it's awesome. So that's our gray period, and then it moves to black. Okay, so the middle of the movie is black, and this is where we have a demon in the cage, we have a little girl, and we have a blacksmith, and from there we go to hell. And that's all I'm telling you about this. See, I think this movie was going to go to hell. The movie literally goes to hell, and we have these ideas about the demons, that the demons are all powerful, but they're still the demons use trickery against us, but we equally can trick them because they're so far going in one direction, meaning they're just full of hatred and torture, and they have simple weaknesses. And this is the comic book in me. See, at one time, Green Lantern couldn't touch the color yellow. Okay, yellow was his weakness. Superman's weakness was kryptonite. Martian Manhunter's weakness was fire. These are all stupid and make no sense. But this is also why I like the movie Signs, because I love stupid weaknesses when it comes to powerful villains, because it's a life definition that resonates in us. See, there is an evil and there is a powerful presence in all of our lives, and there are obstacles, and some of them are self-inflicted, meaning they're psychological, and some of them aren't, but they're an obstacle nonetheless. Some of them are physical obstacles for those of us who hit the gym as much as some of us, like me. Guys, do me a favor, go work out. Just go to the gym. Okay. And knowing that there's a weakness to that powerful entity, it's almost like procrastination. See, the best way to defeat procrastination is just if you do a little, if you move that needle slightly towards completion, you will have an avalanche of productivity. And every time you do it, you hate yourself because you see what happens after. So this is where the simple weaknesses of powerful beings comes into play. And for this one, it's chickpeas and a bell. Okay? And this dude, the blacksmith, ends up with a golden bell in hell to torture the devil. Game over, people. It's an amazing, perfect wrap up, perfect ending, and there's resolution to this. There's resolution by the end of this movie, because we're dealing with souls. We're dealing with the battle of sin, and it's heavy on that. And I like that it's heavy on it. And potentially, it's great that this type of story came from a foreign filmmaker, because I don't think it could get made this heavy-handed on God, the devil, and these other elements. I don't think it could be that powerful if it was made in the U.S. Because U.S. we really don't like doing Christianity anymore. I don't know why. I really don't. It's beyond me. Just even out of a storytelling device, it's great to go all in on that biblical stuff, if you believe it or not. But I do feel like the politicized Hollywood doesn't really like to swing for the fences when it comes to Christianity, and we're not better for it. Sorry, even on just a film sense. But yeah, and this movie really makes you watch this movie and you question your life, you question your sins, you question your loves, and everything's dissected along a thread that people who we think we know because they're tropes are not. Okay, and there's hooks and there's angles, and there's some of the best makeup design, there's some of the best costume design, there's some of the best costume acting I've seen in a very long time. And this is the devil in the cage. Okay, devil in the cage acts through his eyes, okay, expression, and the dubbing did work. Now, I would love to see this movie not dubbed. Okay, I would like to see subtitled. Potentially that could be an option on Netflix. Netflix has a million language options and subtitle options. I just didn't want to go through it. I just wanted to watch this movie. That's how excited I was. Now, the other masterpiece. So we're going to go in one line here, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up. Okay? To give you a warning. When Stanley Kubrick shot Barry Lyndon, and Barry Lyndon spawned out of his Napoleon work. Okay, because he was going to make the biggest movie ever, starring Napoleon. He was actually going to resurrect Napoleon. I was looking forward to it. And part of his study was he wanted to shoot a movie that was naturally lit by candlelight. And this caused him to stockpile more cameras because, Stanley Kubrick had enough equipment to almost open up his own film studio, because again he had a background in photography, and he understood lenses, and he understood cameras, and he understood lighting. So when we watch Barry Lyndon, that's for the time, that's like the pinnacle of shooting by candlelight. And at the time, it was impossible. It wasn't same as shooting at night, which ended with Collateral, the Michael Mann movie. Was this impossible feat, okay? And these are the constraints of having a controlled atmosphere, the complexities of filmmaking, and the capabilities of the equipment. So if we have this through line between Barry Lyndon and our movie here, Errmentari and the Blacksmith. I can't say sometimes. Errmentari and the Blacksmith. There we go. We have a through line of the candlelit shots of Barry Lyndon and Errmentari and the Blacksmith, now available on Netflix, to the way how this movie is shot by candlelight. And it's beautiful, it's artistic, and it's true, because if you pay attention, there's a definite flicker. There's a flicker to the lighting, okay? And it's incredible, okay? It's one of the biggest technical achievements I've seen in shooting in quite some time. And this movie should be honored for that. Now, if you're a fan of demon design or just prosthetics, this is for you. If you're a fan of these European folk tales and this folklore and the grim fairy tales, this movie's for you. If you want to see someone deciding to make something out of nothing, which is the Netflix horror rollout, watch this movie, okay? A lot of these elements that I preach are here. And this movie definitely should not be ignored. It should be watched and rewatched, okay? And I can easily watch this movie back to back with Legend and feel that they're maybe potentially a part of the same universe. And there we go. We're grouping movies again, people. We had the English colonial movies earlier, and now we got this, and now we have our 90s horror revivals that I'm definitely doing something future on Dream Warriors. But look, everyone, I gotta go. Support me and find ways to fund original content. You can do this by purchasing products and services through my Etsy. You can donate on Patreon. You can even support me by following me and leaving comments and talking to me about some of these movies on my social media, AKAPAD on Twitter, Snapchat, AKAPAD13 on Instagram and Facebook. Rock and roll. Let's go, man. We're knee deep in this Halloween for live. Peter A. DeLuca, aka Pad, your boy, signing